I absolutely love the way that cars look, sound, and drive in Forza Motorsport. But if you want to outpace the competition, then you're going to want to have every last thing tuned up just right. And that includes the settings on the game itself. So here are a few tips on how to get the smoothest visuals on Series X, followed by our recommended racing settings to help you dominate on track. And if it's just that second bit you're after, just skip ahead to the timecode below. Right, let's get started. We're going to do a few settings tweaks just so you can get the most cinematic experience that Forza Motorsport has to offer. Turn 10's latest racing sim is really the Oscar Isaac of the gaming world. You just can't ignore how absolutely, insanely, unbelievably gorgeous it is. And if you're lucky enough to be playing it on the Xbox Series X, you even get to choose specifically which sort of beautiful you want it to be. There are 3 graphics modes to choose from in Forza Motorsport. Performance, which prioritizes 60 frames at 4K. Visuals, which maximizes 4K visual fidelity with ray tracing. And Performance RT. Variable resolution, but on-track ray tracing at 60 FPS. And that Performance RT option is probably the pick of the bunch, and it's what I actually play with on my Series X, because it offers that smooth 60 FPS frame rate while still enabling those eye-watering real-time ray tracing lighting effects and that beautiful fidelity. Of course, if you do want to direct all of the game's horsepower purely towards stunning depth, visuals is the way to go, but Performance RT is our recommendation on a Series X. Okay, gameplay time, and we're going to start off with our suggested line recommendation. By default, Forza Motorsport offers players a suggested driving line to guide them along the course and help them find the optimal route from start to finish. It's a great option for when you're trying out a track for the very first time, and you're obviously welcome to keep it on or to pack it in altogether once you get comfortable with the game, but honestly, the best option might actually be to set it to braking only. On this setting, the game is going to provide you with a red line that indicates where you should apply the brakes to slow down. It's a nice, unobtrusive little option which frees you up to do your own thing while providing you with just a little bit of help when it comes to hitting all of those turns just right. I find that it helps me engage and train my driving brain so that I'm paying much closer attention to what my opponents are doing on straights and gives me that advantage in trying to do overtakes. But speaking of brakes, another handy little assist that you might want to spring for is ABS, or anti-locking braking system, instead of the default partially assisted brake option. This way, anytime you apply the brakes, you'll be in full control of that, but ABS will automatically begin pulsing them so that your wheels don't lock up and leave you sliding all over the road like Bambi on ice. I mean, I guess that wasn't exactly the worst thing that happened to Bambi in that film, but it isn't exactly what you want. If you do decide to turn off ABS, you can absolutely still avoid this by learning how to modulate your gas and brakes to avoid the wheels locking, but it's quite tricky, and if you don't fancy mastering this fairly advanced driving technique, just leave ABS on. One of the key things that you'll be deciding when you're tinkering about in Forza Motorsport settings menu is just how much realism you want in your realistic racing games. Steering is a prime example of this, and I find that the normal option actually gives you the best experience, because while it puts the player in total control of their steering and therefore offers an extremely realistic experience, it also slightly dampens certain physical effects to keep things just a little bit more stable. But once you've gotten really comfortable, you can then give simulation a go for a raw, totally unassisted driving experience. Just don't be surprised if it feels significantly twitchier. Where ABS helps you to keep your wheels from locking, traction control prevents them from spinning on pointlessly if you lose your grip on the road. It's basically reducing the power to your wheels until they've regained traction, and it's a handy little assist that actually makes things feel way more stable. When it comes to traction control, the Sport option provides a really nice middle ground by allowing you a little extra slip before it applies corrective braking, meaning you're still able to drift a bit without the assist immediately trying to get you grip back onto the road, which can be a bit of a jolt sometimes and ruin your driving line. And for the same reason, you're also going to want to set stability control to Sport. That way you'll get the benefit of these assists while still having enough control over things to drive like a pro. Now, one place where you definitely want full control is when it comes to making a pit stop. By choosing to allow manual steering into the pit, you get to guide the car in there all by yourself, no matter what other driving assists you have on. And while this isn't the most important thing in the world, it does add a little dash of extra immersion to the whole experience and keeps things nice and seamless too. Plus, you can be a bit cheeky and go a bit quicker. When the cars look this good, absolutely no one wants to get into a fender bender, especially when they're driving at 100 miles per hour in a car worth more than most people's house, so turning on proximity arrows is a great way to avoid these kinds of pesky collisions. Anytime another racer gets a little too close for comfort, these arrows will appear to help you keep track of them. It's an absolute godsend if you prefer playing from the cockpit or hood perspective and you don't want a rival creeping into one of your blind spots. Plus, if you're trying to boost your safety rating in multiplayer, then minimizing collisions is a must. Those tiny little tweaks and adjustments can make all the difference in the merciless world of motorsport. So finally, let's talk about dead zones. Obviously, personal preference is going to play a huge role here, but I would say turning your steering axis and deacceleration dead zones down from 24 and 15 to 18 and 5 respectively are going to make everything a little bit more responsive by allowing you to trigger your brakes and steering adjustments just that bit earlier. These tweaks should help you get on the road to Forza Motorsport glory, and we've got way more advice and tips along the way, so be sure to subscribe and ring that bell. Bye!